Welcome back to Asphalt Assault Garage. Like I said, I was going to make a video going over the parts that I've gotten so far and my plans for the all-motor D16. This is the block. I had already prepped it, but that was like 4 years ago. So now I'm going to have to re-clean it again. Probably re-hone it up a little bit more after I get it clean. And it is a D16 Y8 block. As you can see, it is dirty. And it had been sitting so long that dust had accumulated on it, as you can see in my closet. Alright, this is the head and covered with bag. It's the D16 Z6 head. That's the main cap retainer I pulled from the junkyard. As you can see, that's not oil on it, it's grime and built up and caked on sludge that I'm gonna have to probably wash in a bath of grease lightning, because that's the best stuff I found to get all that crap off. Not only from there, but outside engines. It works really, really good. You just gotta make sure you wear gloves, because the next day or two you'll notice that like the top layer of your skin is flaking off of your hands and fingers if you're not wearing gloves. This is the crank. Then I'm going to have to polish up a little bit more because of some of the wear marks that were still left in it. Like I showed in my last video, right there. Kind of hard to see with the light, but it's supposed to be a standard bore. Once I get the engine all cleaned up, get this cap tied down, the tools show up that I've been waiting on. I'm going to measure the bearing bore and then measure the journals to see what the clearance is and see if my standard bearings I got are going to work, or if I'm going to have to purchase another set of bearings, if this is going to be, if I need oversized bearings to make the right clearance. I got these rods a while ago and I never noticed, because I didn't really open them up because I knew I wasn't ready for it yet, that they never came with rod bolts. And you can't use the ARP ones because they go through the top and they're meant for the OE rod. So then I got these, and I wasn't really thinking how much it was going to weigh because I had already weighed the rods. And the rods by themselves are around all of them are 460 to 462 without the bolt in them. Then I got the bolts. The bolts alone, each one weighs 26 grams. So, and all in all, it's not a 462 rod. It's going to turn into, oh, come on, a 515 gram rod. So now I have to contemplate on if I want to, instead of using the chromoly steel, the titanium ones, but the titanium ones are kind of pricey. I think they're like 25 bucks per bolt or per pack of 2. So I have to figure that out. And then the other thing I am planning on doing, since these are so heavy, it's not a nitrous or turbo motor, I don't need them to be so heavy and strong, is I'm planning on shaving from each side of the beam, on each side of the rod, about 1 to 2 millimeters, and then smoothing it out to see how many grams of weight I can cut from them. My plan is to try to get down closer to like 448, or obviously as low as I possibly can get without making them too skinny and too out of balance. And then after that, and I'm trying to get to 448 because that's what the Skunk, I believe that's what the Skunk 2 Alpha Light rods weigh. But they're $400 compared to $200. And then after that's done, I got to get the rig to then balance both the big end and the small end of the connecting rod, which I think there's different ones that cost like 100 to 200 bucks. And it's basically to put the pin in one side way, this side, and hang this side over here, and vice versa. So then you can shave them and make all the big ends equally balanced and all the small ends equally balanced. Then I told y'all I would tell you about the piston issue and why I need to get a new set. So this is the piston I plan on running, the ZC piston, the P29s. You can, depending on what thickness gasket you use, will depend on your compression, because I think a 2-layer Y8 gasket nets over 13 to 1 compression. Obviously, I'm not going to run that high because I'm trying not to pre-detonate an auto ignition and blow up my engine. But they're factory OEM ZC pistons, which means they were built for the wrist pin to go in and be pressed into the rod, the small end of the rod, and that's how it's held in place. But because these rods were made to be full floating, to run a full floating wrist pin, trying to do this with one hand, which is a pain. Okay. So they're meant to be a full floating piston wrist pin setup. Problem with that is if you put it in that way, vibration and movement is going to move the wrist pin out to the point where it's going to start putting gouges in your cylinder wall. So what I need is a set of pistons that then have a groove machined in them right here to run spring locks to hold the pin in place. That's why I have to buy another set. And I found another set just like this that come with rings that are already machined and have the groove for the spring lock in place. And then on top of that, the top is coated in a thermal barrier, and then the side skirts are coated in I'm guessing, a dry lubricant like Teflon to keep them from gouging and getting damage, so they move easier with less friction on the cylinder wall. And the reason there's a thermal barrier on the top is because heat is what makes your power. The more heat you can keep inside the cylinder, forced in acting upon the piston head to move it down, the more power you can have. You lose power through losing thermal efficiency, as in BTUs, heat, through the aluminum and then out by the cooling of the oil on the bottom, same as the combustion chamber. So my plan is to buy those that are thermal coated and Teflon coated, and then on the head I plan on coating the valves and the combustion chamber in the thermal barrier coating on top of that. And then there's supposed to be another dry lubricant that you can buff into the cylinder wall, but I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not. Depends on just how far and how tedious I want to be with things. There's also a dry film lubricant that you can buy and coat your bearings in also, which I think that's what the ACL race bearings are. That's why they're black, because they're coated in that dry film lubricant. And I think it's all basically made by a company called Power Coat. I can't remember where they're at. They're like New Zealand, Africa, somewhere distant, far away. That's about it for the pistons and rods and the crankshaft and engine. The head, I plan on running the old Zex. I think it's a 59 500 cam. It's like a 3/4 race cam, because that's what most people ran. It was one of the best cams that was built, other than the BZ cam, but I can't find the BZ cam. I don't even think they're producing them anymore, because he got his own shop and I think moved on to other things. And I'll probably run like Super Tech, maybe stronger valve springs, titanium retainers, Super Tech, probably valves too. And then port and polish the head, remove it from make them a little bit bigger, then remove areas so it has more of a straight through flow. And then I also plan on possibly porting it to flow numbers. There's a certain gauge, electronic gauge I can get. I'm thinking about trying to build a rig for, so when I'm porting polishing it, I can see how much air I'm actually moving and making sure that every cylinder is equal in the airflow that's moving through them. Because if not, because everything's measured as a whole, not port by port. If one port is getting more air than the rest, you're still running the same fuel based upon your airflow numbers to the computer and your map sensor. So it doesn't know that that port's getting more air than the other ones. And if you get too much air in one, you could lean it out and cause pre-ignition. And then you got possibly have a hole in your piston, especially due to the fact that I'm not running forged pistons. They're just hyperetic aluminum pistons, stock pistons. And I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that was it. I also plan on doing the porting of the oil pump, and then the whole using a spacer on the spring to bring up the pressure after it's ported. And then I'll get into the rest of the stuff from there, because obviously the core short block is what I need to assemble first and get everything the way I want it. All right. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you want to keep up with my videos as they come out and the updates, hit the subscribe button. If you got buddies that are interested in this or possibly have a D-series and had this thought in their head, share it to them. All right. Thanks. Peace.